God knows Arthur Raven realized that. "Listen to what I found in Rommy's probation records," said Pamela. "On July 5th, 1991, he was sentenced to time served for a violation of probation. The murders were early on July 4th, so time served would mean he was in jail, wouldn't it?" "It would mean he was in jail at some point, not necessarily on July 4th. Does his rap sheet show he was in jail on July 4th? "No, but it's something to investigate, isn't it?" It would have been something to investigate a decade ago, when the records to prove it was nonsense still existed. Yet even at that, the Federal Appeals Court was likely to grant Gandolph a brief stay of execution, during which Arthur and Pamela would be obliged to scramble in dogged and futile pursuit of this phantom theory. Rankled by the prospect of more wasted time, Arthur nudged the cruise control wand a bit higher and felt some dim satisfaction in the big auto's response. He had purchased the car 2 months ago as a trophy of sorts after he became a full partner in his law firm. It was one of the few luxuries he'd ever permitted himself. But he'd barely turned the key when he began to feel he was disrespecting the memory of his father, who had recently passed. A loving man, but one whose eccentricities had included a cramped frugality. And listen to this, Pamela was saying. She had withdrawn Rommy Gandolph's rap sheet from the thick folder on her lap and read out the entries. Gandolph was a thief and a fence. He had 6 convictions, burglary, theft, possession of stolen property several times. "But nothing with a gun," said Pamela. "No violence, no female victims. How does he suddenly become a murderer?" "Practice, practice, practice," answered Arthur. From the corner of his eye he saw Pamela's full mouth turn briefly downward. He was screwing this up, as always. Arthur did not know exactly what he had done wrong with women to leave him single at the age of 38. Appearance was one issue, he realized. He'd had the droop and pallor of middle age since his teens. In law school, he'd had a brief, hurtful marriage to Maria, a Romanian immigrant. After that, for a period, he seemed to have neither the inclination nor the time to start again. He had given so much to the law, so much fury and passion in every case, so many nights and weekends where he'd actually felt pleasure in having solitary time to concentrate. And his father's declining health and the question of what would become of his sister, Susan, had also been draining preoccupations for years. But now, seeking even the faintest sign that Pamela had had some interest in him, he felt humbled by his foolishness. His hopes with her were as unlikely as hers for Gandolph. In another 15 minutes they had arrived at Rudyard. In the prison guardhouse they signed in, then were directed to a worn bench for the long wait while Rommy was brought down. In the interval, Arthur reviewed Rommy's letter, which had arrived via various intermediate hands at the Court of Appeals. It was composed in a hodgepodge scrawl with multicolored markings and other features too irregular even to be called childish. Just looking at the letter, you knew that Rommy Gandolph was both desperate and crazy. "Dear Judge, I'm on death row for a crime I never committed. They say I've all my appeals and all come out against me. Even so, I am innocent. Can't somebody over there help me? I'm going to be killed, and I never hurt no one. Not in this case or any other time that I remember. Right now, help me. I didn't kill no one, ever." The United States Court of Appeals had entered an order treating Rommy Gandolph's correspondence as a successive petition for relief under the federal habeas corpus statute and appointing a lawyer for him. Arthur. Judges often wave their magic wand at random to turn some unwilling toad, a fully occupied lawyer, into a pro bono prince, with a demanding new, non-paying client whom the rules of the court required he accept. Eventually, Rommy's name was called. Pamela and Arthur were patted down in the holding area, and then the first of many electronic bolts was shot, and a door of bulletproof glass and iron crossbars clanked irrevocably behind them as they followed a guard. Down a low brick corridor.